Hi, I'm Kira. Welcome to my channel. This is part 2 of the 20 book list challenge created by Ariana over on Instagram. I'll put her username right here so you can go follow her. Like I said, this is part 2, so I'll leave part 1 down in the description if you want to check that out too. So what this challenge is you pick 20 books from your physical TBR and you have to read those specific 20 books before you can buy new ones. I have made a couple modifications for myself doing this challenge. The first one being I'm allowing myself to buy my most anticipated releases, which is only 1 or 2 books a month, because I know myself and I just can't not buy them and read them, because I will read those straight away, and every book I have bought so far this year I have read already, and it's only been like 3. And then the second one, to make it a little more fun for me and to motivate me more, is I wrote down numbers 1 through 20 on pieces of paper and I folded them up and put them in this jar, and then I wrapped all 20 of the books and I labeled them 1 through 20. So when I'm ready to pick a new book for this challenge, I will pick a number and whatever book it corresponds to is the book I will be reading next. So it's a bit of a surprise each time, even though I do know what books they are, and at this point I can kind of guess, or I at least know the hardcovers of what's left. Some paperbacks are weirdly shaped, so I know which ones they are, but otherwise, pretty much a surprise. Here are all 20 of the books on my list, and I have marked off the 5 that I read in part 1, and I'll be reading 5 more in this part. I actually have already picked the first book we are going to start this video off with. We're going to go back to Past Me when I picked this book. Here are the books that I left. We have 15 left. There are 2 up on my Disney shelf because I keep those separated. I have my jar. We have an audience today. My dog is roaming in my room. I picked number 12, which is, is this what I think it is? Number 12 is next, and I think I know what this is. And if it is what I think it is, I'm very happy. I'm so happy with this choice. Okay. Exactly what I thought it was, because it was the only awkward height for a paperback, and that is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I'm so excited for this. I've heard great things. A little murder mystery, I think. Honestly, I don't know that much about this book, but I know the actual story of Jack the Ripper, so I don't know if it's gonna be like the actual story of him and they're trying to figure it out. On chapter 4, about 30 pages in, and I'm fully invested in this story already. I think this is the exact read I need right now because I've been reading so much romance lately. I'm just in my murder mystery thriller era, I guess. I'm liking our main character Audrey and I'm liking Thomas, but I don't know if I should be suspicious of him or not. I guess I'll say I'm liking him, but I don't know if I fully trust him yet. Hi. So last night I did in fact finish Stalking Jack the Ripper, which means that book 6 out of 20 is now done. I'm giving this 4.5 stars out of 5. I loved this book and I cannot wait to continue this series. One of the first books I'm going to buy once this challenge is over is the next book in the series. Even though it took me a little longer to read than I would have liked it to because of the language and some of the terminology that was used, because it's not written in modern times. It's set in the 1800s, so it's written using that kind of language sometimes, so sometimes it's a little more difficult to understand what's happening, but I got through it. The last half of the book I feel like I flew through. And also, despite it being harder to read at the beginning, I was fully invested in the story on page 30. So, I love true crime and stuff, so I knew the story of Jack the Ripper. So this was like the actual story of Jack the Ripper, because I didn't know if it was going to be that. I didn't know if it was going to be like actually Jack the Ripper, or if it was going to be like a copycat, or if Carrie Manscalco was going to come up with her own Jack the Ripper and kind of make it her own story and just use the name. But it was the actual story of Jack the Ripper, mostly. And I'll get into that in a second. And obviously, since Jack the Ripper was never identified, Carrie Manscalco came up with her own storyline that made it so there was someone who was actually Jack the Ripper, and we find out who it is at the end. And it was not who I thought it was going to be, so she did a good job. And back to like how it was the actual Jack the Ripper story. In the back, there's a little short author's note that's a couple pages. It says, author's note, historical and creative liberties taken. So she goes through and she like tells you how the actual victims were named in this book and their stories and other little things that she changed and dates that she changed, because she said she did try to stick true to like the dates that things happened, who was involved in this case and stuff. But obviously she had to change some stuff to make it work for her story. So I thought that was really cool that she just went through that in the back to let the readers know. The little romance moments we got had me dying. Mr. Thomas Cresswell, and I loved Audrey Rose, freaking girl boss. I think that's all I have to say about this. I am going to take about a week break from reading for this challenge to do some other videos and read for them. So I will see you back here when I'm ready to pick book number 7. Long time no talk for me. It's been a couple seconds for you, but it's been a month since I read Jack the Ripper. But I was reading books for other videos. Most of them were physical books though, so proud of myself for doing that. Anyways, it is now time to pick another book for this challenge. I have a new setup. I reorganized stuff, so now it's here. You can see me and it. I'm telling you right now, if I pick out a fantasy, I'm putting it back and picking another one. I just read City of Ashes and City of Glass, basically back to back, and I'm done with fantasy for at least 2 weeks. If it's fantasy, I'm drawing it again. Oh no. This is Addie LaRue. This number is not going back in, and I'm picking another one. There's no way that's happening right now. 1. This could be one of 2 things. I drew number 1. Not first, but I did draw it because I knew the other ones were fantasy. Is it what I think it is? It's The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. I've been scared to start this one. That's why I haven't read it. It's like the 2 years it's been on my shelf. The font of this? Holy crap. Can you see that? No, you can't because it's too small. Guess I'm reading this. I don't even know if this is romance or just like women's fiction, general fiction. Guess we'll be finding out. I've heard mixed opinions on this, but I guess I'm gonna find out what I think. Started The Flat Share. So it's dual POV between Tiffy and Leon. The first chapter is in Tiffy's point of view and the second chapter is in Leon's point of view. Tiffy's chapter is written how books are typically written, you know, full sentences. But Leon's point of view is written very strangely. It's very just straight to the point, nothing extra, you know? There's not many I's, and as in like, I did this, I do that, whatever. It's just, did this, do that. And the dialogue in Leon's chapter is written how like text messages are written in books, where it's like someone's name, a colon, and then what they say with no quotation marks. It's just kind of weird. Let me read you a couple sentences so like you have an understanding of what I'm talking about. Nice normal person message. Resist all urges to ask about Martin's cruise ship plan, though find myself curious. I would say it kind of feels like I'm reading bullet points. Like they're not complete thoughts. It's just bullet points put into a paragraph. So I'm about 50 pages in now. Definitely starting to like it a bit more. Leon's chapters and his perspective and the way it's written isn't bugging me as much. And I really like the notes they're leaving for each other. That's really cute. I don't think we've dug too deep into the story yet. Tiffy just moved in and they're getting used to that. So I am now, I think, about halfway through The Flat Share. They finally met and it took 100 pages. I'm happy they did meet. The way they met was really funny. I really liked how that happened. But I'm not really happy with it taking 100 pages for them to meet, because before that I didn't hate it. Like, I've been saying that I like it, and I do like it. I was just waiting for them to meet, and that's all I was thinking about while reading the first 100 pages. And there were some points where I was a little bored. Other than that, I am liking the story. I'm a lot more into it now that they have met. Leon's chapters, I'm not noticing as much how choppy they are anymore. There's an audience at the moment. But I have finished the last share, and I'm giving it 3.5 stars. After they met in person for the first time to right before the conflict / miscommunication happened, I really loved it. I was just bored the first 100 pages before they had actually met. Their notes were really cute. I liked that. And then the miscommunication I was annoyed with. It was even miscommunication between Tippy and her best friend. And it didn't make sense to me. I did enjoy myself. It's not like I wanted to DNF it. Would I read it again? Probably not, but I'm going to keep it on my shelf. Book 7 out of 20 complete. Time to pick out a new book. Pick a new number. I'm just gonna go with whatever it is. If it's fantasy, fine. I'm still not really in the mood, but I'm more in the mood than I was when I chose the last one. But if it is Addie LaRue again, maybe I'll skip it. 14. Ooh. Okay. I have a couple ideas of what this could be. Number 14, book 8 of this challenge. My guess is it's either going to be the Hawthorne Legacy, which would be great, but I do need to reread the Inheritance games before that. It could be Archer's Voice, or possibly The Silent Patient, which I'd be okay with. Alright, I've been waiting for this one since I started this challenge. The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I don't really know much about this book, but I know mostly everyone loves it. I'm pretty sure this is about a woman who kills her husband and then she just doesn't say anything about it. She refuses to talk about it. I'm excited. I have a feeling I'm going to fly through this. I finished part 1 of The Silent Patient. At the very start, it just drops us right into what's happening and Alicia killing her husband. And now she's at the psychiatric unit at a place called the Grove. And then Theo, our main character, it's told from his point of view. At least so far, that's the only point of view we've gotten. Theo is the criminal psychotherapist, and he knows about Alicia's case, and he wants to try to help her talk and get information out of her. So this first part, it started with Theo going to the Grove, trying to get a job there, and trying to talk to Alicia. But then it just goes into Theo's backstory, which had nothing to do with Alicia. So either that was put in there for literally no point at all, just to add stuff to make the book longer, or it's going to come back up later. So I'm keeping that in the back of my mind. I didn't really enjoy reading it, but I'm keeping the information we learned about Theo and his past in the back of my mind in case something about it comes up later on in the book. That's really all that we've learned so far. I'm hoping it picks up in part 2 and we learn more about Alicia. I think halfway through part 2, which is almost halfway through the whole book, and I'm starting to like it a little more. Still not loving it, but we are getting to see more of Alicia and her past and what might have happened leading up to her killing her husband. We still are learning a lot about Theo and his past. We still have no idea if it will connect to anything with Alicia, so I'm waiting on that because I'm not really enjoying learning about him as much as I am learning about Alicia. So I'm hoping everything connects at the end, because otherwise I'm going to be a little upset and confused as to why we learned so much if it had nowhere to go. I finished The Silent Patient yesterday, and I'm giving it 2 stars. It's not what I was expecting it to be. The first maybe 200 pages, I was like, okay, starting to get more interesting. I'm starting to get a little more invested. hoping something good is going to happen at the end. And then the last 50 pages, just no. No, 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 no. The reveal of what had happened and what was happening, it felt unfinished. Like, that's not what was supposed to happen. I don't want to say too much in case I accidentally spoil it, but I'll just say the reveal made me think about everything I had read and made me very confused about the timeline, and I didn't like it. The reveal, it happens the last sentence of a chapter. I literally had to go back and read the last couple of pages of the chapter again to see if I was actually reading what I was reading. So it just felt like what happened shouldn't have happened that way. Remember how I was saying Theo's story better connect somehow to Alicia's? It connected, and I hated it because I wasn't liking reading Theo's part of the story, because that is literally the majority of it. I liked when he was at the Grove and talking with Alicia and the other patients and stuff, but just reading his normal life, I didn't care. I liked Alicia's diaries. I wish that was... Honestly, I wish this whole thing was like Alicia's diary. Just diary entries leading up to her husband's death. But yeah, it's getting 2 stars because I did sort of like the first 200-ish pages. Anyways, let's move on to the next one. It's time to pick book 9 out of 20. I am almost halfway done with this, which is very exciting. This one, no matter what it is, even if it is fantasy and I'm not really in the fantasy mood, I'm gonna read it. There's no more thrillers on the list. That was the last one. There is mystery, which is the Hawthorne Legacy. Then there's fantasy, romance, and I think 1 literary fiction and 1 nonfiction left. Picked 18. Oh, this feels hopeful. Book 18. This is, I think this is either going to be Archer's Voice or the Hawthorne Legacy, which I'd be fine with either, honestly. I am so happy right now. I'm so happy. I've been wanting to read this for months. About a week after I did this and wrapped these all up, I wished I didn't put this in there because I wanted to read it immediately. But I couldn't because I didn't know which one it was, and I didn't want to ruin this little game I have. Book number 9 out of 20 is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. This is probably one of the most popular romance books on any platform, really. I see this talked about literally everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. I have a sort of idea of what this book is about and what happens. So this is about Archer, and he is mute. He doesn't talk to anyone. He uses sign language, I believe. I don't know what the girl's name is, but basically she moves to this small town because something happened to her, and then she meets Archer. I'm so excited for this. I am hoping, and I think I will love this. And if I don't, then I will be very, very disappointed and sad. What? All I have to say is, oh my god, I love this so much. Just hit 100 pages, and I am fully obsessed and questioning why I did not read this like 2 years ago. I could have read it 3 times by now because I already want to go back and reread it. I'm not even finished with it. I love Archer. I love Bree. I love their interactions together. Also, Pain. I finished this, and I have no words. I have notes in my Notion that I write down as I'm reading. No words. Anyways, 5 stars. A new all-time favorite. I want to read it again immediately. Even though this was my first time reading it, it felt like a comfort read. Like I was reading something I'd read 100 times before. I don't know how I'm supposed to move on from this, but I'm going to have to. And I'm going to pick the last book for this video. This is going to be my 10th book for this challenge, which means I will officially be halfway done once I finish it, which is exciting. Considering it has taken me almost 4 months to read these 10 books. Number 10. Pretty positive I know what it is, and I am excited. Book number 10. Oh my gosh, I chose book number 10 for book number 10. Wow, how perfect is that, you know? Yep. Book number 10 is going to be the one and only Carrie Soto's Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm super excited for this, especially since both Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones were 5 stars. And I have a feeling this is also going to be 5 stars, or at least very high up there. This is about Carrie Soto, and is she a retired tennis player? She's a retired tennis player, but she comes back to play after the 1994 US Open, I believe. She comes back because her record is either about to be broken or, yeah, after the 1994 US Open, she comes back because someone broke her record and she was not having it. Anyways, I'm very excited for this because I am a former tennis player. I played tennis 3 out of 4 years of high school. The 4th year being COVID, so didn't play. I'm an ex-tennis girly, so I'm excited to read this book. This is the first book I believe I will be reading that's focused on tennis or has tennis in it. Surprise, surprise, we have another 5 stars. Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. 5 stars. I loved it so much. Like I said, I played tennis in high school, so I understood literally everything that was happening in this book, what was talked about, how Carrie was feeling. I understand why some people don't like this because of Carrie and her character and how she acts and reacts to things, but that's literally how it feels. She would get upset because she felt like she had to win and like losing wasn't an option. And I can see where people would not like that, be like, girl, just be happy you got where you got. But like, I understood how she was feeling because that's how it feels to play tennis. Because if you lose one single match, that could push you back very far. And like, you see that in this book. My high school team, we were ranked. So if you were the best on the team, you would play first. Because we only had 3 or 4 courts. And I played doubles. So you'd have 2 singles courts and 2 doubles courts. And we get ranked every week. And every week, if you're doubles, you might be playing with a different person. Carrie is a singles player, so you don't get to see the struggles of being a doubles player. Especially high school teams getting switched up every week and not knowing who you're going to play with. So I understood that feeling and Carrie's character more than I think some other people do because they haven't played tennis. The way she wrote the matches had me on the edge of my seat and my heart was racing, waiting to see who would win and what was going to happen. And also, I did not think we were going to get a bit of a romance in this, but we did and I loved it. So there's that. That's an extra plus in my book, at least. This part of the challenge is now finished and I'm going to recap what I read. I started reading these 5 books the beginning of March, but I only read 1 book that first week of March, and then I didn't read any more the rest of March. And I started reading the other 4 the second week of April. And it's now 5-ish days before the end of April. So that's how long it took me to read these 5. Definitely hoping the last 10 takes me quicker, as in I'll be done by the end of May with this whole challenge, so that I can go on a book shopping spree. So the first book I read was Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco, and I gave this 4.5 stars. I did go out and buy the second book in the series, so I broke my book buying ban for that. Haven't read it yet, but I do plan on reading it pretty soon. Then I read The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. This one I gave 3.5. Not my favorite book ever, not the worst book I've ever read, just in the middle. I just didn't love the ending, I think it was, but I did really enjoy the middle part. It was also just a little slow getting into it, and some of the writing was a bit weird. The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I think I gave this a flat 2 star, maybe 2.5, but I think it was just 2 star. Really did not like this. I did not like the plot twist. I thought it was bad. That's all I have to say about that. Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. 5 stars, one of my new all-time favorites. I loved this so much. I love the characters so much. I love the storyline so much. Need I say any more? And finally, Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was the last book I finished. Again, 5 stars. My 3rd Taylor Jenkins Reid book, and all 3 have been 5 stars. I can now check these 5 off of my list. Hopefully I will see you in part 3 of the series.